Good afternoon, everybody. Happy Sunday. Welcome in to the NCAA Hoops Hour. I am the big man on campus. It's Election Sunday, March 17th, 2019. Let's get into a lot to talk about here. What we'll do is we will get into the games here. We'll go over those, and then we'll get into a little bracketology, talk about some of the last teams in the field, that kind of stuff, and then we'll let the teams do the honors as we get ready for one more big day in college hoops. Make sure you, as always, hit the like button, say hello in the chat box if you wish to. A lot of people already on there saying hello. Do me a favor, make sure you hit the like button, hit the dislike button, whatever you want. Like button's preferable, but whatever you want to do doesn't bother me. But I do like either way some sort of kind of tally that you were here. Hope everyone's having a great Sunday. You know, like I said, as I get older, I like Sunday a bit more and more. It's nice to get up, have a little coffee, maybe watch a little Italian league or English soccer, and just kind of get ready for the season. Or get ready for the day. So that's always nice. Sandy is sad today. Yeah, well, look, I mean, unfortunately, Kentucky have no interest in. I don't know what they were doing late in that game. They are a horrible 3-point defense. They have to figure that out in the NCAA tournament, which I think they will. But they were poor yesterday in closeouts. Any spots left in a bracket contest? Yeah, there's a few. Hit me up. I was surprised. I was surprised that a lot more people didn't jump on it. Again, I guess for a lot of people, $100 is I guess a too much. I don't know, but I got a good amount of people. I'm right at where I kind of want to be. I don't want to have too many people. I really just don't want to deal with all those people. I just try to do it for fun, and if we can make a little money, if you win, then so be it. So yeah, you can email me, and we can get you on the challenge there. So also, before we get into the games here, want to let everybody know about my bookie, guys. Today is Selection Sunday. Make sure you get in the game before the big games start with mybookie.ag. If you sign up right now. And use my promo code BMOC. Again, BMOC. You're going to get a 50% deposit bonus. So whatever you deposit up to $1,000, you're going to get yourself 50% of that in free money. So again, very simple. I'm not a math wizard, but you put $200 on, they're going to give you $100 free to wager. Get in the action now. They have live betting for the golf for Players Championship, which is great. And I'm actually going to take a look at that right now and talk to you about that. You look at John Rahm, who's in the lead right now. You get him right now to win this tournament, plus 185 at my bookie. You could bet on my guy, Tommy Fleetwood, who I have currently at 28 to 1, but you can grab him at 3.5 to 1. You think maybe Jim Furyk, the old guard, is going to make a run. You can grab him at 80 to 1 right now. You can get in the game right now at MyBookie. Bitcoin deposits and withdrawals, and they're one of the fastest pays in the business. Make sure you check out MyBookie. I've gotten a few good people on MyBookie on this show, and they've told me they enjoy it. You don't have to tell me. Go just deal with MyBookie. Tell them that. Very available. And they have one of the only odds makers that's on Twitter. He's pretty cool. The Anonymous Gambler will give you some good info. So make sure you check out MyBookie now. Use promo code BMOC, and you can get yourself a little bonus. Plus, you're supporting the sponsors, which on the show, it's always important. When you like a show, support the sponsors. Make sure you are on there and you're able to frequent them. It's St. Patrick's Day. Oh, that's true. It is. I forgot about that. It's going to be cold, wintry, and rainy in Northeast Florida. Yeah, we'll see. Obviously, I would hope that Rory doesn't win, but he's right there. He's a guy that's got a chance here. I have Tommy Fleetwood, so I'm kind of pulling for him. Actually, I'm really pulling for him. But let's get into the games here, guys. We only have a few here. We'll bang them out. 1:00 p.m. You have the Atlantic 10 championship. Raise your hand if you thought St. Bonaventure and St. Louis would be in the A10 title. I'll wait for everyone to raise their hand. Nobody thought they'd be here. Before the season, maybe St. Louis, but when they lost Cartier-Gordon, you had your questions on would St. Louis be able to make a run and to do anything in this tournament, and they have. They've been very good. They were terrific in the second half yesterday against Davidson, holding that group to just 44 points. But this is 4 games at 4 nights for Davidson, or for us, for St. Louis. And that's tough. I mean, when you have a team that isn't necessarily familiar with doing this, it's difficult. You look at St. Louis, a lot of transfers on this team, but not a lot of transfers that are have been able to do this. They don't really, you look at a guy like Tremaine Isabel, he comes over from Drexel. He hasn't made runs in the tournament. And I know these are young kids and they should be fine, but it is something that's going to be itching in the second half, especially for a team that doesn't shoot the ball particularly well. Generally, your shooting legs go first and defensive legs go first. So that's going to be a tough thing to kind of rectify here. You look at St. Bonaventure, this team, I talked about 2 weeks ago, and I talked about how good this team's been lately. They've covered 9 of 11 overall, guys. And one of the reasons they've done that is they've gotten healthy. Everyone's back healthy. Courtney Stockard's in there healthy. He's playing at a really high level. They're getting good performances from their young, their young players. Which anytime you can get an infusion from freshmen with a team like St. Bonaventure, you're going to do some good things. You look at a guy like Kyle Lofton. I mean, he's come in and been real good for this team. He plays a lot of minutes for this group. He's got a great assist rate. Just a really solid team right now, and they have a ton of players that I think are just better offensively than anything St. Louis can throw out there. You also look at the big issue here in this game, okay? In a close game, it's going to come down to the wire likely. I'm getting, I think, the better defensive team. The team that I think you also look at, I think the big problem here is free throw percentage. I mean, you look at St. Louis, 352nd in the country. Okay, there's only 353 teams. So they're second to last in free throw percentage in the country at 60% even. 60%. You look at St. Bonaventure, 68th in free throw percentage at over 74%. You have to figure that is going to tell a difference in this game. One thing when you're playing St. Louis, what you have to be able to do is rebound the basketball, because this St. Louis team, the way they can stay in games is offensive rebounding. They're number 1 in the conference in offensive rebound percentage. But you have a St. Bonaventure team, pretty good rebounding team. You're 6th in the conference. Not great, average. But I think they can do enough here. I like the way Bonaventure's playing. They just beat St. Louis a few weeks ago by 6 points. I'm not sorry, not 6 points. They beat them by 9 points. I'm sorry. That was in the Riley Center. Isabel had a pretty good game, but everyone else was pretty much quiet. Stockard was terrific in that one. I think free throw percentage is going to be the difference in this game. It has to be. It has to be. You look at this number at 2, not the best number in the world. Just that's the problem here. You would have loved to have gotten this opener. You lay a little, 115, get a money line. At 125, 130, I think it's a good play. I think they will win, but it hurts to lay, the juice like that. Auburn, Tennessee, SEC final here, 1 o'clock down in Nashville. You got Tennessee laying 5 total, 144.5. Got to give Tennessee their props. They were very good last night in the last 2 minutes of that game. They came out and they basically were very they weren't selfish. They got the ball into the right hands late in the game. They obviously saw that the 3-point defense was hideous for Kentucky, and they made the extra pass, and they got the win. It was impressive. It really was. And, Tennessee, I think, have their faults, and they've not been in my best wishes this year. But, again, they have the chance to win this conference and be a 1 seed, So, I can't knock them. They played well in these games late in the season. I still am interested in, again, matchups are so important in the tournament. I'll be interested to see who they get as a matchup. But, Auburn's actually playing pretty well themselves. You look at Auburn, they've won 7 in a row, including an 84-80 win over Tennessee last Saturday. I was on the over in that game. And, championship games generally tend to go under. That's obviously a big reason this total's moved 6 points south. But you look at this game, it's going to be hard. It's going to be hard for this game to go under. I think the only way this game goes under is, Auburn just kind of has tired legs, where they just kind of, their 3-point shots are just short or too long, and they just kind of go away. But you look at a schematic perspective here, these are two teams that are going to score. I mean, you look at Auburn, very reliant on the 3-point shot. As far as in the country, Auburn is 26th in the country in 3-point percentage, 7th in point distribution from the 3-point line, very reliant on the 3-point shot. And one of the big problems that the SEC has is from at least their top teams, they don't defend the three at a high level. Kentucky has issues with that. Tennessee has the issues as well. Auburn made 13 threes in that game last Saturday. I think they shot 39% from three. That's not good enough if you're Tennessee. Their closeouts have been poor. And while they're a good 2-point defense, they have struggled from 3-point defense, allowing opponents to shoot 36% in conference. This is a team also, if you're Tennessee, which I don't see how they don't score here in this game. Auburn can't defend in the half court. And I know people will point to, well, they're playing well lately defensively. Yeah, but they played Florida, Missouri, and South Carolina. And all due respect to those teams, but they're not Tennessee on offense. So, you look at the first game, 84-80, and I know people say, well, it's a championship game, da-da-da-da-da. You're right, but it still doesn't get away from the fact that both these teams are really good on offense. Both teams, in their perspective, things they need to do to stop the opponent are particularly good. And the pace is going to be there in this game. You only need 75-70 in this game to go over. Is there any reason Tennessee shouldn't score 80 in this game? Because I don't really see how they don't. Auburn's really not shown all year that they can defend inside the 3-point line. I guess maybe I think we can overthink things because it's, the conference tournaments and, everything goes low, but this Auburn team can't defend. So I would look over in this game. And I know that's, you don't get a lot of that in conference tournaments Saturdays and Sundays, but the concern you have obviously is the tired legs. And I think that's the only way this game doesn't go over. This game's is like 75, 60 or something. But how does Auburn? Auburn is going to always make like 10 threes at least. How does 3 games in 3 days affect these games? Of course it affects them, but I think you just go on kind of your, what's the word I'm looking for? You go on your 18-year-old body with a championship on the line type of thing. It hurts. Some of these games, it will hurt. Thank you, William. Appreciate that. It's very kind of you. Appreciate it, Jimmy. Thanks, Jimmy Ganella. Thanks to you for watching. Appreciate that. Guys, do me a favor. Go on Twitter and retweet this show right now. Please. I'm begging you. That's a really kind thing to do for me. Go retweet the show. I don't care if you have 40 followers, if you have 100 followers, if you have 100,000 followers. Please retweet the show. It's a great way to get it out to people that might enjoy it. Maybe they don't have time to cap a game or they just want to get some talk about the games. Please do that. That'd be very kind of you. Stu Potter, thank you, buddy. Appreciate that. What else do we have here? Yeah, if anyone has interest in the bracket challenge, just email me, bmocsports@gmail.com, or you can email me at bmocbrackchallenge.com, bmocbrack@challenge.com. Do I follow people back that retweet? Yes, if you retweet the show, I will follow you back. Again, if I don't follow you back, it's nothing intentional. Thank you, Russ. Appreciate that. Kelso, thank you. Appreciate it. Let's keep it going here. So first 2 games, if I'm giving plays out here with these 2, I would go with Bonnie minus 2, except I hate that line. I'd prefer to much get a pick 'em or money line, but I don't want to lay 130. And I would take Auburn, Tennessee over 144.5. Let's keep it moving to the Sun Belt final, where we have the Texas Arlington Mavericks and the Georgia State Panthers. I talked yesterday about Lavelle Moten, the coach at NC Central, and how great of a coach he is. He is a guy that when you ask me who are the best coach in the country, if you said to me, I want you to pick a guy that – because we have to realize, guys, what a coach is. The definition of a coach is – and I'm going to pull up the official definition of what a coach is. And I want to get a coach by a player coach, basketball coach, let's say. The definition of a coach is the act of directing and strategizing the behavior of a basketball team or an individual basketball player. You hear that at the end? Individual basketball player. Basketball coaching typically encompasses the improvement of individual and team offensive and defensive skills, as well as overall physical conditioning, as well as providing encouragement and instructing in relevant skills. They're also responsible for the guidance of the athlete in life and their chosen sport. That's the biggest thing here. And I'm not going to go on a rant about the basketball coaches that don't do that, but there are a lot of them. You look at a guy like Lavelle Moten at NC Central. If you said to me, big man, who's the best coach no one talks about? It would be Lavelle Moten. Lavelle Moten is a terrific coach. He's a terrific guy, and he's a terrific person. He puts kids at the highest esteem. He gets them and gets their best out of them. And it's one of the reasons he goes to the postseason and wins that conference tournament every year, because he's that good. And the fact that he's at NC Central, there's no knock on that. I fully support HBCUs, and I hope he continues to coach there. But I do believe he should be somewhere else. I think he's that good as a coach. He does great stuff with very limited talent. And you know why he does it? Because he loves basketball. He loves being a head coach. This is a guy that got his start at the boys' club in Raleigh, North Carolina. I mean, and what I'm getting at here is I look at Ron Hunter the same way. These guys need to get more respect, okay? They're terrific basketball coaches. They're not terrific babysitters or terrific, people that, command, five-star athletes. These are guys that do not get the best players and always win. And these kids off the court are good people, and they go out and do good things. Ron Hunter is a great coach, and that's one of the reasons in a tournament game like this, I have no interest in betting against Ron Hunter. I just don't. Plus, he's the best player in the conference is DeMarcus Simmons. This is an interesting game because Texas Arlington, you got to give that team a lot of credit. Texas Arlington was gutted last year by graduation. They lost Kevin Hervey, who's in the NBA now. They lost Eric Neal. They lost a lot of really good basketball players. And they were able to also figure out a way to continue to win without their coach. Scott Cross was fired. They bring in Chris Ogden. They win their final 4 games of the season. And they've also won a tournament game, and they're in the tournament final here. These two teams are totally opposite. Texas Arlington is slow. They rebound at a high level. They play great defense. They're limited offensively, but they stay in games by rebounding on the offensive glass and making their free throws. It's that simple. Texas Arlington is not going to do anything on the offensive side that says, wow, they're really impressive. That's not how they're built. But I talked about the big time line in the middle of this conference where you have a few teams that are like Texas Arlington, Texas State, a Little Rock. But then you look at the other side of the bill in this conference in the Sun Belt, where you have these up-tempo teams that like to run fast, and they're great offensively, and they make a lot of threes, and they cut in and cut out. They're inside out. Those teams, like Georgia State, are tough. They're tough to handle. You look at Georgia State this year, okay? They beat Texas Arlington both times. They're both close games. But in a tournament game, it's all about a guy like Ron Hunter. He's terrific. He's everything that I would want in a coach, just like Lavelle Moten. And just like Lavelle Moten yesterday, I would take the Georgia State Panthers -4. Thank you, Rusty. Appreciate that. Thank you, Michael. DeLeon Johnson says he needs to take Leonard Hamilton's spot. That's a bit high. But if I was, if I'm not a power 5, maybe maybe then a Power 5, maybe even maybe a mid-major. I'd be looking at Lavelle Moten. And I'm not saying that he even stopped there. He could be very much like, someone that goes to like, I don't know. I'm trying to think of a school in that area that will need a coach soon. Anywhere in that southwest area or the southeast area. I don't think Florida State. I think that's a bit too high. But, the AAC would be perfect. Temple University would be just great, but that's not going to happen. But, yeah, I mean, somewhere down in that area, East Carolina, that would have been a pretty good spot for him maybe, or something like that. But, Clemson, that'd be a good one. Sure. I think that's a bit high for him, but either way, he's terrific. I'll tell you where it would work. William and Mary, down at William and Mary. I think that's a spot that he could do some good things with. William and Mary is a team that just fired Tony Shaver, which, by the way, is absolutely moronic. You have to wonder if you're William and Mary, did you have that in mind? That could be interesting, William and Mary. They just got rid of their coach. I mean, UNC Greensboro could be a good one. He's from that area. So, we'll see. We'll see where he ends up going. But even if he ends up going, let's keep it moving. Houston and Cincinnati in the American final. Houston laying 5. Total here is 127.5. I put this out on Twitter. I liked Houston in this tournament. Obviously, I mean, Houston's the best team. I don't think Cincinnati has any shot in this game. You have to ask yourself, how do they score? I mean, because outside of Jaron Cumberland, I just don't really like this team. I don't. I'm not a big Mick Cronin guy on the offensive end. I don't think he's a very good coach on that end. I think he has limited talent from the offensive perspective. And look, I'm not really looking to jump in front of Houston. You look at Cincinnati, 12th in the conference in 2-point offense. 12th. Not good enough. It just isn't. Numbers up at 5, a bit high. Not really a big fan of this game. Don't have much on it. Lean Houston if I had a gun in my head, but I don't have much here on this one. Final one, Big Ten tournament. Michigan and Michigan State. And didn't we all think it'd be this matchup? I mean, seriously. John Beilein, 2 straight Big Ten titles, going for a third today. And this is going to be a good game. It's going to be a great game. It's the last game of the day, as always. You got Michigan now showing up. This line's all over the place. Okay, you got Bookmaker putting out a 1 for Michigan. Pinnacle has Pick'em. 5 Dimes and Bet Online have Michigan State -1. So you can get a little of everything here with this line. And I only wanted to reference that because it is all over the place, but it is around the Pick'em. Let's see what the great folks at MyBookie have for this game. And again, if you are interested in MyBookie, you can bet with them now. Use promo code BMOC. When you open your account, you get yourself a 50% deposit bonus, and you're supporting the show. If you like the show and you want to do that, do it now. They have Michigan -1 at 105. So you're laying a little juice, but you have to lay a point at MyBookie. So if you like MSU, you can get them +1 right now at MyBookie. And I'm sure you're asking, well, Bigman, what do you like here? All I've heard over the last couple days is Michigan State, they're injured. They don't have anybody that's healthy. Well, I mean, Cassius Winston looked pretty healthy yesterday. 21 points. Nick Ward is going to play more minutes today. But this game's interesting for 1 point. And I'm going to go under the number in this game. And I'm getting a pretty good number. I can get 132.5 at Pinnacle. I can get 132 out there as well. But let's look at MyBookie. They have a 131.5, which seems to be the prevailing number. I think this game's played in the high 50s, low 60s. You look at all these teams combined, 70% of their games go under the number. Michigan State is a terrific defensive team, and we all know the limited capabilities at times for Michigan. They go through long stretches where they can't score. It's just that simple. They're not a great offensive team. But you look at Michigan on defense, number one in efficiency in the country. Not Virginia, not Texas Tech, Michigan. You look at Michigan State on offense. You love what they do. You love, Winston and McQuaid and Goins and all those guys. But I have a concern for Michigan State on one level. And I have really things I like about them too, and I'll get to those. But the one concern I have is Charles Matthews is back in this game. And if you watch the two games from Michigan State this year where they beat Michigan, their pick and roll offense was terrific. I mean, they were scoring in the half court like it was their day job, which it is. It's one of the reasons they put up 75 and 77. Their pick and roll offense was terrific. You have to figure with Charles Matthews back, that's going to be negated a little bit. Listen, I'm not buying it. I still think Michigan State's the best team in the conference. I think Ward back, he didn't play in the first two games between these two. I think he can neutralize Brzdeikis and John Teskey. This could be a great one. I think the under's probably a pretty good play here. I'm surprised his number's in the 130s. I really am. You also look at these teams from a tempo perspective. I mean, Michigan's real slow. I mean, they're 12th in the conference. Michigan State likes to go a bit quick, but both these teams on defense are high possession length. So both these teams at 19 seconds and 18.6. So basically, from a layman's term, for anyone that doesn't know, on defense, the average possession length would mean that basically every time they have a defensive possession, they're making their opponent work for the best shot. And what that does is that takes a lot of time on the clock. And what that does defensively is generally means they're not going to score a ton because they have low defensive numbers as well. It's very simple. It's really more like layman's terms. Just average possession length on defense is how long you make your opponent work for the shot. It's very simple. For me, I'd look under the number here. I think a big thing in this game that I think is the difference for Michigan is both these teams have played a lot of games, right? They play a lot of games in a short amount of time. So what you do in those situations are you look and say to yourself, okay, what do the benches look like here? And the benches for Michigan don't look good. Michigan doesn't have a bench. They're 350th in bench minutes. So there's only three teams that have a lower bench minute percentage than they do. Only 18% of Michigan's minutes come from the bench. The only other teams with shorter benches are Holy Cross, South Dakota State, and Hartford. They're way too dependent on their starting 5 or 6. Michigan State, on the other hand, very good bench. 119th in bench minutes. Almost 33% of their minutes come from the bench. And they're fully healthy now, for the most part. I think that's kind of a big difference here. I think that's something that can really help. And if Michigan goes on these scoring stretch here, they get in foul trouble. That's what makes foul trouble so rough. What if Brzdeikis picks up too early in this game? If it happens for Michigan, it would suck, but it wouldn't be as bad because they have a bench. Thanks for watching, Ben G. Gina James, thanks for watching. Kyle Hamburg's in here. Thanks for watching. So there you go. All the games. Have fun. Bracketology. If you guys have any bracket questions, let me know. I'm going to try to stay away, guys, from the questions of, how far does this team make a run in? I don't know. I don't know what the brackets are. But what I do know is, guys, I'm going to have a bracket show tonight, 8 o'clock on my channel right here. Make sure you join me. We'll go over the brackets. We'll go over everything. We'll go over from a bracket strength, what team's going to make a run. Can a team make a run? What you like as far as your team's concerned. And we'll talk brackets here, 8 o'clock. Okay, 8 o'clock p.m. Eastern on this channel. So if you're not subscribed, make sure you get subscribed so you don't miss anything. I'll be on at 8 o'clock talking brackets. So yeah, if you have any questions on bracketology before the brackets come out, let me know. As far as the last 4 in, I think the question is, how many teams does the Pac-12 get? And I got to be honest, I think they get 3. I do. I think Arizona State is a tournament team. I do believe that. Question is the committee going to put them in over NC State, Belmont, and teams like that? To me, the last four in are just like what Joe Lunardi has. I would put Arizona State, Temple University, St. John's, and I might flip-flop TCU for someone else. But you look at TCU, I mean, they're the last team into me. If I had to put, the last team in the country in, it'd be them. But I think some of their wins are good enough. They beat Iowa State twice. They beat Baylor. They beat Florida. They beat Texas twice. Non-conference, they really don't have much, and that's kind of the problem for TCU. We have to ask ourselves, are we going to reward teams that don't play anyone in the non-conference? TCU was 7-11 in the Big 12. Last year, St. Mary's was left out of the field with 30 wins. So you ask yourself, why were they left out with 30 wins? Because they didn't play anyone in the non-conference. Randy Bennett just didn't play anyone in the non-conference. St. Mary's didn't have to worry about that this year because they won the West Coast Conference tournament. They were sick of it. And they just said, you know what, we're going to go win on our own. But you look at this year, St. Mary's, while they didn't have a successful out-of-conference schedule, they did play some good teams. They played New Mexico State, who's in the NCAA tournament. They played Utah State, who's in the NCAA tournament. They played Mississippi State. They played Harvard, who's possibly in the NCAA tournament. They played LSU. So you look at Randy Bennett, that's a good idea. Randy Bennett went out and played teams. He didn't want to be that. They played West Kentucky, who almost made the NCAA tournament. So they played and had the ability and did some good things. It didn't matter because they won the West Coast Conference. But TCU should not be rewarded for this. So neither should NC State. NC State had the worst out-of-conference schedule in the country, dead last. They should not be rewarded in the NCAA tournament field. Stop putting these teams in. Nobody wants to see them. Nobody cares about them. No one gives a fuck about them. Nobody cares about NC State and NCAA tournament. I'm sorry. Nobody cares. Nobody cares about TCU either. And TCU doesn't have the fucking chops to be in the NCAA tournament. I don't think either should be in. But then you say to yourself, well, then who would you put in over TCU and NC State? Would it be Belmont? No, it wouldn't be them either. What did Belmont do in the non-conference? Fucking Ugats. They beat Lipscomb. Everyone's going to say, beat Lipscomb twice. Who cares? Lipscomb's not in the NCAA tournament. They couldn't even win the Atlantic Sun. What do you mean Lipscomb? I like Lipscomb. I'm going to watch them in their conference or in their postseason tournament. But to say that's your quality win, you beat Lipscomb, who cares? But I will say those are pretty decent wins. If it's me and you say to me you have one spot for three teams, Belmont, NC State, and TCU, and I'm looking at it from a totally, schedule, OOC, net ranking, that kind of stuff, I'd probably put Belmont in. And I frankly would rather see Belmont, but, I think the team that I'm looking at is Texas. Because Texas they were 8-10 in conference, and they were 16-16 in the non-conference. But you look at their non-conference wins. They beat UNC, who's possibly a number one seed in the running. They beat Purdue. They beat Kansas State in their conference season. They beat who else? Who else they have? They beat Kansas. They beat Iowa State. I mean, I'm not really talking much about their but to me, this is more impressive than any of those other teams. At least they went out and played teams and won. I don't know. For me, I think Texas should be in over any of these other teams. They should definitely be in over TCU. They're not even close. Because Texas went out and played teams. They didn't fucking put shitheads on their schedule. I mean, TCU didn't play anyone in the non-conference. None of the worth. They played Santa Barbara, Oral Roberts, Fresno's a good one, I guess. Lipscomb, but they didn't even get into the tournament. Lipscomb, EMU, CMU, SMU, USC, well, who cares? Indiana State, Charlotte, Bucknell, Indiana State. They beat up on Indiana State twice. And they played High Point, but the game didn't get played. I'm sorry, not High Point, Hawaii Pacific. Look, I'd put Texas in over any of these teams. And I'm not a big Texas guy, but I would put them in. TCU stinks. Fuck TCU. They shouldn't be in the tournament. No way. I'd put Texas in over TCU. And I know that's crazy because they have 16 losses, but we'll see. It's fascinating discussion. Either way, we're it's probably not going to be what we think it's going to be. They're going to put someone in, and you wonder at what point does committee value the mid major. But I think Temple University's safe. I think they're definitely in. St. John's, they're definitely in. Temple's 23-9. They were 13-5 in conference. And look, the AAC is a pretty good conference. They beat Houston, they beat UCF, 2 tournament teams. But if you're saying to yourself, who did Temple beat in the non-conference? What would your answer be? Because they didn't really do much of anything. Temple beat one team. Actually, I'm sorry, they didn't beat any team in the non-conference that's going to make the tournament. They lost. They beat Davidson. They're not a tournament team. Beat UMass. They're not a tournament team. Missouri, who's not a tournament team. Cal, who's not a tournament team. And Georgia, who's not a tournament team. They basically beat up on the low levels of the SEC and the Pac-12. But those are Power 5 wins, so they mean more. Listen, if Temple doesn't make the field, I think it's a sham, especially with those records and some of the quality of wins they have. So the bad loss is Penn. The fact that you lost to Penn is a rough one. That's a rough one. If they didn't lose to Penn, we wouldn't even be having this conversation. They'd be in the field. G. Coop. So the assassin that shot Frank Cali is a total nutcase. What's the story with this guy? The person that shot Frank Cali is a guy named Anthony Comello, Comello, not Carmelo Anthony Comello. He's 24. All indications are, and I, again, know the Gambinos pretty well. I've never heard of Anthony Comello. He's not a member. He's not an associate as far as I can see. According to people that I've talked to that know a lot about mob stuff, this kid was a fan, let's say, of Cali's niece, who he's very close to. He wanted to date her. Cali forbid it and said no. And according to the police, allegedly, Comello shot Frank Cali because of it. It doesn't make a lot of sense to me, to be frank. It just doesn't seem like it makes any sense. Comello is not connected to the life at all. He is from Staten Island, though. He went to high school in Staten Island. He lives in Brick, New Jersey. So there is a foothold with all the families there. But this, according to the police, is not a mob hit. This is just a kid that decided to go nuts, which I find to be weird. But if you read the affidavit, which, not even the affidavit, just the report, Comello shook hands with the kid. He must have known him. I think this is one of those things where it might have been like a stalker type of thing, and people in the know say the kid was kind of a weirdo, kind of a lunatic, a big conspiracy theorist type. But this is where, again, the kid's going to have a short life. Let's just say that. He's going to have to be in PC, I'm sure, his entire life. I'm not sure if he's the guy that did this. I don't know how he's in Gen Pop ever. He will be killed by who, there's a lot of Gambinos in the Fed. So, but again, this would be a state case probably. It depends on who takes over the case. I'm guessing it'd be FBI, but we'll see. If he goes to the state pen, there's still a lot of loyalists up there that would take care of it. If he goes to the feds, he'll be in PC his entire life. That's just the truth. You got to wonder who takes that retribution on this, because the Sicilians will take retribution. The Sicilians are very close to Frank Cali. The Sicilians have a big foothold on the Gambinos right now, and they don't fuck around. So this kid, if it's true, the kid is a pretty stupid kid. But he's 24. He's a kid. He doesn't know any better. The passion of the heart, exactly, G. Coop. The passion of the heart is too much. But it's definitely anticlimactic, let's say, because you look at the mob and where they were and where they are now. And I still think they're doing things and they have things going on, but I mean, you got a fucking 24-year-old puke that comes and shoots a boss in his front yard. That's the fucking mob now. And I don't mean any disrespect there. It's just the root, the ability to just complete something like that. And then the stupid kid drives back to Jersey in the truck and parks in front of his house. The blue truck was picked up in front of his house. He didn't dump the truck or anything. And the stupid kid hands him the license plate that he knocked off. Fingerprints all over the license plate. I mean, come on, man. I mean, this is but then again, you say to yourself, is it though? Is it that amazing? Most people, guys, if you have your house and you park your car out front and someone hits it, you're going to go out and check on the car. And if you know the kid, you're going to be even more likely to go out. Where was his security? He didn't have security. He was at home. He was at home with his kids. What do you think? The security stands in his house all night while he sleeps? They didn't have security. It was a fender bender. The kid went out, or Frank Cali went out, and probably thought nothing of it. Probably didn't have I think he had his piece on him, but when you turn your back to somebody, I mean, he probably wasn't thinking anything of it. Crazy. I don't think it's that amazing, really, that he could get to a boss like that. But generally, the common rule is you don't fuck with family. But again, he didn't fuck with the family. And if you look at a lot of mob hits over the years, Angelo Bruno was killed in front of his house. Greg Scarpa was shot at with his daughter in a car in front of him. I mean, Phil Testa was blown up on his front porch in Philadelphia. They put a nail bomb in his porch. What if he was walking out with his wife? His wife would have got whacked as well. This whole thing of, well, you can't be at your house, that's not true. Not at all. There's been a lot of people over the years that have been killed near or in front of their family. Harry Riccobene in Philadelphia was shot in front of his mother. He was walking his mother down the street and some assassin shot at him. And he died in front of his brother died in front of his mother. So this whole thing of you have to be not in front of your family, that's not true. There's been a lot of guys that have been killed right in front of their house or near their house. So it's not out of the question. But there's no way if you're Cali, you would think anything of the kid. What happens to this kid's family? I don't think anything. I don't think there's anything you can do. They didn't do anything. The only thing you could think of is maybe this kid would. There's no way this kid was hired, right? There can't be. There's no fucking way that he was hired. They botched it like this, where they have some little shit, and the kid will crack. He ain't gonna not rat. So it's interesting. I'll be interested to see where it goes from here. But I don't think they'll do anything to his family. His family didn't do anything, unless his family is connected. I mean, I don't know if it's maybe, who knows. But I'll wait for the apology from the police department for Gene Gotti, who was viciously dragged through the mud by a lot of people. I'm sure it's very chic to go and blame the Gottis, but listen, Gene Gotti just got out after doing 30 years. There's no fucking way Gene Gotti has any interest in getting back in. Listen, the Gottis, sad to say, are an afterthought in the mob now. The mob, they're doing their own thing. They're moving on. The only connection they have in the mob is that one of the grandkids. He got a little jammed up. He's doing a little bit right now. But other than that, John Jr., he's out. Peter Gotti's locked up and not getting out. Gene Gotti, I mean, there's no sense in him getting involved. Feds are watching him like a hawk. So if you're in the know, the fact that you thought Gene Gotti was involved is repulsive, really, and there's no chance. Settle down, Hamburg. Johnny Sack is a fake character. But all right, guys, that's it. This has been a fun week talking about this. We'll see where it ends up going. Let's kind of wrap it up. All of you have a great day. Thanks for watching. Enjoy the games today. We gave out a lean for each game. I wish you all luck. We'll be on later tonight, 8 p.m. on this channel, talking bracket stuff. You never know who might turn up. Make sure you join us and subscribe now. Have a great day. We'll see you next time.